I think the Bills are going to destroy the New York Jets based on their performance in London. They're coming back off a game in another country, and the Bills have to be, not just licking their wounds, but licking their chops, thinking we need to get back on the right track. And here's a division game where they can separate themselves from the rest of the pack. None of the other teams look like they're very good this year, including the Dolphins. Patriots are terrible. And the Jets are in complete disarray and now have an interim coach. But in the last 14 years, I guess it would be, Lubie, since 2010, teams that have an interim head coach come in are 15-12 straight up and 16-11 against the spread.
Oh, well, we know. They get the bounce. What do you mean? Dan Campbell, and now he's a good coach with the Lions, even though I really feel like that's his defensive coordinator more than him. But he was a god for like the first 2 or 3 games here. People were like, the Oklahoma drill. There's nothing wrong with decapitating players. That's a great idea in 2015.
Didn't he have him doing tug of wars and things like that? I thought he was running the Superstars competition. I was waiting for Joe Frazier to get thrown into a swimming pool and drop to the bottom. You're thinking maybe Bruce Jenner comes back as Caitlyn Jenner and competes in the thing. You have her throwing the discus or whatever.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with one Mike Lubie Lubitz, who has, I believe, found a way to overcome the technical issues that we've had with the internet last couple of days, where he's been so frozen that I think he has frostbite. Hold your hand up there. Do you have like the black fingers? No?
Just a fingernail here, but the rest of it.
Hey, we have to start out. This was phenomenal yesterday on the show. How often does this happen, Lubie, where we get a tip horse and it actually wins?
Oh, it did win? Oh,
absolutely.
No.
Jiggity jog.
Really,
this thing.
Did?
Yeah.
Good for Sheldon G, but dang it. Did you, any of us?
Sheldon G. How many times have I gone out and given out the tip horse that I had received from some jockey or some trainer or some guy that said, oh, yeah, well, I got a horse today, cannot lose. And, of course, the typical response that you get back from the person after the horse finishes last is LMN, which is short for lose my number. Exactly. But this was hardly the case yesterday in the 6th race at Delaware Park. It may as well have been the Breeders' Cup Classic, my friends. As Majestic Eagle, the 10-ball, you could see on the board. I don't know what the morning line odds were on this particular horse, but soon as I found it, and it was not airing on FanDuel TV, which used to be TVG, but they have a secondary channel. They had acquired what was Horse Racing Television Network. Okay. There were competing networks when there was TVG, and then there was HRTV. FanDuel just sort of gobbled up both of them. And now, so it's a secondary channel that I don't often tune in because they usually have tracks that I'm not finding all that appealing. And surprisingly, Delaware Park, which is normally on the regular FanDuel network channel, what was relegated because they have so many different things going on. You've got Keeneland happening. You have Belmont and Aqueduct. I guess that's on Fox, on various Fox channels. And Fox likes to fuck with you because it doesn't matter what you're watching, even if it's like a Major League Baseball game, they'll move it to another channel in like the 5th inning. Have you noticed that? You can't find it. Like it's on Fox Sports 1, then it's on Fox Sports 2, and then all of a sudden it's on the regular Fox channel, then it's on Fox News, and the next thing you know, you're thinking, man, maybe I will vote for Donald Trump. Sounds like a pretty good guy. But in this case, I found it just about a minute to post time. I got home and I turned on the channel, and there it is, 1 minute to post for the 6th race. Which hopefully the people in the audience are not hearing this horrendous feedback that I'm getting right now.
On again. I don't know why it's doing that. You need to just get the board from Ken, to be really honest. This is not a long-term solution.
Let's try that. No good there. It's been working fine for the most part. This is a little bit strange, but that's horrendous. Maybe we got to shut down the whole thing, start it over again.
Now, just stay with it. But yes, I would get the board from Ken because that's the long-term solution. This is not a long-term solution.
Okay, yeah, then I definitely need to do that because that's an horrendous way to start.
Don't.
What's that?
Don't fall into this as this is just like a backup thing. This is like an extra thing.
This has to be the last day of this, yes. I believe.
You have a weekend, which is fine. We have a board. It works. That microphone you have is a great microphone.
It really is.
Your setup. So
Okay, all right, yeah, I'll pick that up. Ken doesn't mind parting
No,
with
I
that.
talked to him yesterday. He's like, yeah, I don't know why he didn't grab it already. I'm like, I don't either.
Because it's a solution to the problem. That's why I
Exactly.
didn't grab it
That's
already.
it.
You know that, Lubie. But no, we've been running around. I mean, I
I
pulled
know.
off like 5 different shows
All
yesterday.
over the
So
place.
Bleacher Brothers, by the way, for some of this other
Nice.
action, if you want to find it, we got License to Steal on there on Thursdays and Tuesdays. Conversations, which if you can. They're up there. They're kind of archived, unlike when we started with the Tony Bruno Radio Network and the things just disappeared. But a very entertaining Leslie
Good.
Visser guested with me for an hour, and then this Tuesday we got John Feinstein, and then after that I got to find some guests. No,
Oh, you got Feinstein. Oh, nice. Oh, good.
yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to go yet because surprisingly, I guess John he must do a lot of these kind of streaming video interviews, but he's asking me a lot of questions as if he's never done video before in an interview. Is that possible? I mean, in this day and age, when you're an accomplished and I mean, you couldn't be a more well-known sports author than John Feinstein, right? I mean, he's written like 42 books, a lot writing ones,
Oh, yeah.
including going back to the original offering that put him on the map, The Season on the Brink. And that's just a sports writing classic, is it not?
Yep.
Season on the Brink, when
Hey,
a young Feinstein is
yeah.
following and has open access to Bobby Knight and the Indiana Hoosiers. Knight, who hated the media like poison. Are you kidding me? Knight made Belichick and Bill Parcells look like they were media darlings. Like they couldn't wait to find a microphone that they could grab and go, "Hey, man, good to be in front of you guys. I really respect the press." But anyway, it's been working. All right, I don't want to jeopardize any more of the projects here, so I'll get the board from the
Get that board.
professor.
I remind you because I get it. This has worked well. So you're like, oh no, it's
No, this is kind of a gimmicky thing here. It looks kind of hokey because I don't know of anybody that does a podcast or any type of streaming that actually handholds a microphone. Do you?
they don't. What's interesting is on TikTok, and as someone I've done TV, done radio a long time. We've done this a while, and I have done stuff like this for decades now. Going back to the Defo radio, and even into college, I did some internet stuff. The TikTok trend now is they use the lavalier, but they hold it. And it
that's always ugly. What are you talking about?
Shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I've told Shirley, I'm like, don't hold it. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, why are you holding the lavalier? Like, it's a lavalier. The point is, so you have your hand, so you can use your hand, so you can be free.
Exactly.
But they all do. I'm like, well, they're idiots.
Well, and also you don't have the cumbersome thing of a big mic in front of the guy's face. I mean, it would be nice to have a little lavalier mic. Just pin it to your shirt there.
Yeah.
And you're always hoping it's a really attractive woman that does the thing where they put the wire under your shirt. Okay, let me get this microphone on you. And I'm sort of used to being in that position. I mean, from various times of being arrested, but yeah, it is. It is kind of funny, when they start wiring that thing up your shirt. And every now and then, I got to admit, Lubie, the many times I've had it happen to me under certain circumstances, it felt really good. You take your suit jacket off, you get your shirt on, you put it through there. You got some director going, "Can you hear me?" Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Exactly.
And then when it fails once in a while, or the clip breaks, then you're like this, or maybe you don't have a mic that you can pass.
Yeah,
I've had to do that a few times. The stick mic goes out, and you still have a lavalier on from when you were like ringside, and then you got to go like this. So when you hit him with the jab, did you think he was going down? The guy answers in Russian. You're standing there like this. Unbelievable. Anyway, I think we've worked that out. There is a big fight coming up over the weekend that I'm very interested in. I don't know. I'm surprised actually. This guy Dmitry Bivol.
Okay.
Who knocked the shit out of Canelo Alvarez. I mean, he beat him like every round, it seemed. Maybe he lost the first round. And somehow, Adelaide Bird had influenced the 3 judges at ringside, one of which his name was Tim Cheatham, which was very appropriate because all 3 guys scored the fight very closely, even though Canelo clearly lost. And all 3 judges had to fight 115, 113, which essentially is 7-5 in rounds. And it was impossible to see the fight that way. If one guy had called it that way, you would have thought he had taken a couple of $100,000 in bribes. No, really, I mean it's crazy. But Bivol, known as a very slick boxer, he's not the most powerful puncher. I believe. Let's see, his record's 23-0, 12 KOs in the light heavyweight division, and he's facing a guy named Artur Beterbiev, who I have an interest in because Brad Jacobs, our good friend, CEO of Top Rank Boxing, Beterbiev is a top ranked fighter. Let me ask you a question, Olivia. You would know more about this than I would. And I don't get ESPN Plus. Are you a subscriber to ESPN Plus?
I have this stupid bundle, the Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus bundle. So yes, I have it. I guess I've watched it for college football once in a while, but my problem is for you, I have Hulu TV, so like I don't go to channels a lot of the time. Like I have this scrolling thing that like has all the stuff that's on at once, and I just click on it, so I don't know if I've even used ESPN Plus or not, to be brutally honest.
Okay, so you're not sure which channel you're watching, which is fairly common today. I mean, if you're following the baseball playoffs, what fucking channel are these games on?
I don't know. I really don't know.
You need Sarni like in your earpiece saying, "It's Fox Sports 1." Which it brings up another quick thing here. This Adam Amin. Does Fox just train all of their guys to scream the entire time? I'm not sure that baseball on TV necessarily translates well when the guy is just screaming. You can kind of see what happened. Evoking a little bit of emotion and injecting that into a call as opposed to, nothing's really happening. The guy throws the ball over to first base. Can you imagine if we had Kevin Harlan? He did do baseball for a while. He throws over to first. Can you believe it? He almost got him. That would have been it. But this Adam Amin is ruining baseball, I think. One play, one pitch at a time. Ruining baseball.
How do you scream?
He's treating the audience like as if Idi Amin was on the call. It's unbelievable. But a real screamer. I don't get it. They must have do they have like a course that they make everybody take? Do they have to go to like a broadcasting boot camp?
The Fox broadcast.
Where they have Gus Johnson telling everybody, "This is how you do it." Here's a guy that never has to scream because he always makes his point.
I think I've ever heard him scream.
Yeah. Well, when he speaks, people they listen. Yeah.
At the TV when the horse goes backwards or at the rail.
I did want to finish the thought, though. Majestic Eagle, Sheldon G. Wins, pays $6.40. So you got a little better than 2-1. The exact in the race with another horse that was among the choices paid $24. A try, $1.66 for $1. There was nothing spectacular on the exotics, so if you had keyed this horse and doubles and pick threes, you won money, but you didn't necessarily make this giant score. And I would imagine the reason that this horse only paid $6.40. Do you think Sheldon G bet this horse with conventional outlets?
And Andy brought that up, and it's true. He bets so much. Like when it's a big sporting event, it's one thing, but on a small horse race in Delaware Park, like he can really change the odds. And I think that's what I was sort of concerned about. I'm like, he's going to go all in. If he goes all in, it's not worth it. He's going to make it a favorite. He's going to make it one of the favorites.
Well, it was at one point the favorite, and then slid up a little bit in price. There weren't that many horses in the race, so actually, because there were several scratches. I think only 7 went to the post, so not a bad payoff there for Majestic Eagle, who is now going to be racing at Tampa Bay Downs. So watch for this horse next time out, although you might be late to the party because with this win, it was so easily accomplished. Lubie, this was a thing of beauty. Horses on the inside, sitting third, and you could see literally trying to rip the reins out of the jockey's hands. Wanted to go, gets a move on the inside, and then boogies in the stretch. Rarely does that happen, Lubie, right? Usually you're making some kind of excuse. Well, he got left in the gate. I tell you what, if he hadn't dropped the jockey 3 feet into the race, we would have won this thing. Let's bring in a Greek here as we want to get into some football wagering over the weekend. But I am taking a little shot, Lubie, with Beterbiev plus 125.
Okay.
And if he wins, he's going to win by knockout. I don't know that he can knock this guy out, but he's knocked out everybody he's faced so far. 20-0, 20 KOs. It's kind of reminiscent. I don't know if you remember this guy, Sergey Kovalev.
Yes.
Was a real tough, hard-hitting. I mean, nobody wanted to face this guy. He was a monster. And a tough, hard-hitting light heavyweight. And then he lost a couple of fights to Andre Ward, but they were kind of fugazi. The first fight, I thought he got robbed, and then in the second fight, Ward literally fouls the guy, and they went ahead and called it a knockout anyway. And so he ended up with 2 losses, and I think that might have ended his career. And Andre Ward, of course, everybody there, saw as a Hall of Fame guy, but I thought Kovalev beat him cleanly the first time. All right, let's bring in the Greek. Greek, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Listening to your bullshit. I'm waiting to get my pedicure, and I got to sit here and listen to all this guy winning a horse for $6. Are you kidding me?
You would not take 2-1 on a football game anytime? If I offered you 2-1 on all of your bets as opposed to the usual -110, you wouldn't be happy? Come on, Greek. I know you only bet horses that are 50-1 or higher.
Pretty much.
Which is great.
20 to 1 or higher, but it's a different philosophy when you're comparing horses to football. You sound like one of my bosses at iHeart.
I was trying to come up with something on the fly here, Greek. Give me a break.
Greek, can you do any more? Yeah, I can lay mulch. You want me to lay mulch? Can I do any more?
Do more?
My God. Can I do more? I don't know. Let me get another arm. Oh, my God.
How often does it happen, though, where somebody gives you a tip on a horse and it actually wins? I can count on one hand the number of times it's happened out of 50,000 tip horses.
Never.
I don't believe in tips. I don't believe in
you don't even take them.
I don't believe in anything.
All right. Well, let's get to it here.
A loser.
How do you make out? Any wind blowing your way? It was a bad day in Palm Beach, I would imagine, for a hairpiece. And you're in Boca also, which would make it even more devastating.
No, it was nothing. It was a joke. It was nothing. And we really,
okay.
I feel bad, obviously, for all the people. Well, I think the tornadoes were worse, obviously, for the people that got affected.
Man.
And in Palm Beach Gardens. That was very bad. But the storm itself, but I'm juiced up. I got a buddy of mine. We used to bet together. He works at the Hurricane Center in Miami. And I got to tell you, 20 years, he always gives me the in and out. And he said, yeah, nothing to worry about. But he said there's another storm coming. We might have to worry about that one.
Oh, Jesus.
He goes,
we don't need that. Yeah. Hurricane stress is worse than election stress for me right now.
Yeah, the hurricanes are
unbelievable.
I get so burnt out. Like, I'm like, what are you worried about? You know what I mean? But people get like that. They buy all extra food, the gas. Some guy was in line with me in gas. And he's like, hey, pal, I'm next. I'm like, dude, do you really think I give a shit? I don't care. I really don't care. You're in Publix, where the Home Depot, people arguing. I said on the radio, relax. Aaron Rodgers, that's what he told the coach of the Jets Sunday morning when they got off the plane. Relax, everything's fine. 48 hours later, Woody fires him.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then they demoted Aaron's guy, Nathaniel Hackett, who everybody thinks has done a hatchet job with not only the Jets offense, but, of course, a horrible stint as a head coach in Denver, nearly knocked the Broncos out of contention for the next 10 years. Yeah. All right. Let's get into it, Greek. A very luscious-looking slate of college football games. We have games tonight. We have all kinds of action coming up on Saturday, and then, of course, the pros. What are you thinking?
All right, here we go. Tonight, UNLV lane 18, which is Friday night over Utah State. Saturday, our spot play Blue Horseshoe Diamond X triple play is Illinois' first half over Purdue, lane 11, and for the game 21. We do like Tennessee unless they get a blind quarterback and they can't beat Florida by 14. And then when we go to Sunday, everybody always wants you to pick the big games, obviously.
Yeah.
The Ravens in Washington and the NFL, the first 5 weeks, teams getting 5 or more are 13-2.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you go with the highest offense in the league with Washington and hope they keep it close, that they do that. And I think Detroit beats Dallas.
Nice.
Excellent. All right. Do you have an opinion? We've been agonizing one way or another over this Monday night game, which is a big attraction, especially now with the Jets even more in the spotlight and Aaron Rodgers having, I guess, some pressure to distinguish that he was worth any portion of this money they gave him. Buffalo Bills, New York Jets. What do you think about that one? Just we won't make it one of your official plays here.
No, Buffalo, no doubt about it. You can't blame Rodgers for the Jets. The Jets had a lot of he didn't play last year, first of all, and this year he's got no line. And when you watch a game, not as a if you're just a casual watcher, you say Rodgers got picked off. Two Rodgers passes that got picked off, and I'm not defending him. I'm just being real. Like Lazard dropped it down and out.
Yes.
If he caught it, the next play doesn't happen. There was another one that got deflected. If the field goal kicker, who gets paid millions of dollars at a field goal, they beat Denver, and if they win Monday night, they're in first place. So, I mean, the way the NFL is this year, I don't know. I think Saul, he did something he shouldn't have done 3 times. I think it started with the training camp when he said, "Oh, it's not an excusable absence." That was the first mistake I think he made. I think the second mistake was when, he said, "Oh, we got a problem with cadence," and then Roger comes out right away and goes, "We don't have a problem." I mean, Roger's 21. That's it. I think they made it gin clear from the beginning, and there are a lot of coaches who don't like that, and I understand that. But, man, Ed McMahon, sit on the side of the couch, get your money, and shut up. I tell people all the time that. Like, you look at that guy, I forget his name right now. He's on ESPN now for years, and he's really good commentator. He played in the NFL, University of Connecticut, quarterback.
Oh, Arlovsky.
NFL 12 years. Yeah, 12 years as a backup. Just shut up. If somebody's handing you money, and the other thing with Salah, I don't know why a couple of times he went after Rodgers. You just don't do that. It's not going to help you. So, I mean, I think the Jets had to do something. Obviously, it wasn't a great situation all around, but Rodgers then comes out and says, "I don't want to get blamed." Well, you're going to get blamed. That's part of it.
He denied it. Yeah, you have to go to Pat McAfee's show to get your Aaron Rodgers news, and he naturally said that he loves Robert Saleh, and he had nothing to do with it. And then later, the story evolved that he had spoken that morning with Woody Johnson, and supposedly Woody never made mention of the fact that he was about to fire the head coach.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Yeah, get out of
here. It's just like iHeart. They're not, and there's so many people who believe what you hear. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you what really went down. And you never do. I mean, you know what? Magic Johnson was the one who got Westhead fired years ago and opened the door for Pat Riley. Yep. I mean, nobody wants to say that because you look like a heel, whether you're an NBA star or you work in corporate America if you get somebody fired. But yeah, these guys have big. Yeah, clear. Hey, I'm in. I'm 21. You want me? This is what you're getting. He's a head case, no doubt about it. And he didn't talk to his family for years. I mean, so it's just Rodgers. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, remember the story with the snake? You wonder what you get. Are you really surprised?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he could have anticipated this, especially if things weren't going well, which they haven't been, although Saleh hardly had the kind of record that would distinguish him as one of the great head coaches of all time. He may have even been approaching the point where he would get Rich Kotite off the hook as the worst Jets coach ever because he was 20-36
he was rough.
As a head coach. I mean,
it was not that he got fired. It was the time of the year he got fired.
Yeah.
That's sort of, if he got fired before the season or after the season, you go, all right, he's still 20-36, he sucks. But the guy had nobody either.
Yeah,
I mean, we talk about a lot of great coaches who are great, and you and I and Lubie could talk for hours and hours. You look at the great coaches, and there's a lot of great ones, good ones. The great ones, they all had fucking Hall of Famers.
They had great players.
Phil Jackson, has Phil Jackson ever fucking coached a team with fucking shitty guys? No way. Fucking Jordan, Pippen, Magic. I mean, fucking Kobe, Shaq, 5 old fucking Hall of Famers. I mean, it's easy. I mean, it's like a fucking beautiful girl going into a bar with big tits. You don't think she's gonna get served? A newsflash for you, she is. I think the one thing though, you got to coach their egos, and I think that's a big balancing act, and I give them credit for that. But Belichick, I think Belichick's one of the best coaches. Because all he had was fucking Brady.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of good guys, but he made them win together. I don't think he gets enough credit. But all the other coaches that won, they had a lot of good guys and, and Hall of Famers. Yep. That's all. I don't think he's a good defensive coach.
Yeah, I think anybody would, that's been watching sports realizes that it does help to have players. You rarely see a guy. I mean, we always reference this, and Pat Riley's particularly proud of it, that when he was coaching, when he won 50 games with the Heat that one year with Anthony Mason as a star player, that was probably more of a testament to his coaching acumen than any of the championships that he won with the Showtime Lakers. Yep. Because it's not easy to win in those spots.
Yeah, he still had a Hall of Fame center with Ewing.
No,
I'm talking about when he won the 50 games with the Heat that one year. I mean, that was a lousy team, and he was able to make it happen.
But yeah,
Riley's a great coach. I mean, he's won all over the place, and that's the other thing with coaching. If they win all over the place, then you say, okay, the guy wins. But I just think with this thing with the Jets, that it's the number one market, so it looks bad. All that around. It's amazing to me. I see, sports teams, and you guys do. Guys who get paid fucking millions of dollars and make huge mistakes. It's like corporate America. Like I read an article about the CEO for Starbucks. They paid him $114 million over fucking 3 years, and the fucking company went downhill. How the fuck does that happen?
you know what? iHeart.
I gotta buy my own shares in iHeart. This fucker's getting $114 million. Are you fucking kidding me? And he works at home. Oh, really? I don't understand it. It's not fucking having a horseshoe up your ass. It just cracks me up. And the stockholders are like, oh, yeah, next year we're going to turn it around. You ain't turning anything around. You're on the Titanic. Even the GMs, like the Dolphins, what they did. Ramsey the money. They give Tua the money. I mean, Hill. Then Hill goes on fucking social media and he shows highlights of him with the Chiefs. The Chiefs move without Hill was the best move that nobody wants to talk about because everybody doesn't want to piss off Tariq. They say $50 million and they won 2 Super Bowls, and nobody mentions it. $50 million.
Yeah,
that's what they say without having Tariq Hill, and he's a fucking headache. They're all headaches.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. They're like Victoria's Secret models. They all got problems. Wide receivers are no different.
No, they're divas.
I mean, but really, the Chiefs saved $50 million. They didn't sign Tariq. They traded him, and they won 2 Super Bowls.
Yep. Yeah. And maybe on their way to a third.
Yeah, I said the other night, I've always said this line, fucking Mahomes could win with the Kardashians. He comes across the middle. He says to the mother, do a button hook, and that's it. And they win. He just don't lose.
Yeah.
With the size of their rear ends, the button hook would be particularly effective, right? I mean, you just stick your ass in their defender's face, and boom, you turn around and catch the ball. All right, Greek, we'll let you go, man. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure, and good stuff. I mean, you're fired up today because you don't normally swear as much as you have on the show. I don't know if I've ever heard you use the F word in any of your commentaries.
Well, I don't want to wait. It's like I walk into a restaurant. Hello.
It's like you walked into a restaurant at Hard Rock Stadium there, and all of the urinals are full. All right, Greek, thanks. Have a great weekend, my friend. Good luck with your plays, and thanks for joining us, as always. All right. Oh, he hung up on us. He was in a hurry. Huh?
We have the professor waiting in the wings, so I'm ready to...
Okay, all right. Let's roll a couple of spots in here. We'll bring in the professor. So we'll come back. The professor with a big board and some plays for the weekend, especially college football, coming up in a moment. Now that
the time
it's 8:31.
Here, let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
And we'll see what the professor thinks about this. You say he brought it up to you?
Yeah, we talked about this like a week. It wasn't even yesterday. It was last week we talked about this.
Yeah. I was unaware of this, Professor, but and thanks for joining us, Professor. This very curious Temple game. I guess.
It is interesting that they tracked it, that well.
Yeah.
So if something did go on with Temple, I'm sure they'll be, and they, particularly if the players organized it themselves, I'm sure they left an electronic footprint somewhere and will get caught.
Something doesn't look right. You would have to say, and I guess well, who would be the investigating body of
Is
this
this NCAA?
type of activity? The FBI, the
It would be the
NCAA. I mean,
FBI.
okay, so they don't mess around. They're investigating supposedly 5 games,
I mean, they're not
and
Hunter
4 of
Biden,
them involve
so they're
Temple.
not going to mess around with them.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Or
I was
whoever
unaware
left
of that
coke
until
in the
today.
White House. The FBI didn't exact. Honestly, I mean, let's be honest here. I'm not a Republican, but they got a point on some of these recent FBI investigations. I'm not trying to criticize the FBI. I think overall the FBI does a pretty excellent job, but like, should it be that hard to figure out who left a big old bag of coke in the White House? There's that much cocaine in the White House in 2024.
If my dog takes a shit
that.
on the grounds here, believe me, they have a camera that will spot the fact that you did not pick it up.
I don't know about your
It will come
neighborhood.
up at the next homeowners association meeting, and there you are on film, standing there watching
I
this
don't know
dog
about
take a
your
dump.
neighborhood, but my neighborhood, they don't even need the camera. I've got neighbors who watch. That is their existence, is watching dogs
hate
take
that.
a shit in their yard. So I'm just warning you, if RoboCop ever becomes real, the first RoboCops will be dedicated to dog shit in Lighthouse Point.
Yes.
Like,
Oh,
you
in
literally
Lighthouse
go out
Point,
and
forget
some
about it.
robot
man.
will pop up with,
Your
cat
dog
litter
can't
on
even
it.
fart in Lighthouse Point without somebody getting upset.
Cease and desist, K9.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. We have the professor joining us here. Want to get into some college football, and of course, always look forward to the big board, the highlight of the week here on these streams. Professor, how are you, my friend?
I missed the festivities. I heard the Greek was upset. What happened? Did Bob Kraft not make eye contact during his special massage?
Greek was wild today. I've never heard him swear so much. He sounded like Joe Pesci, like he was auditioning for a part in the remake of Casino or something.
Tom Brady didn't say thank you for his flowers.
He loves Brady. He loves Mahomes, the Greek, no doubt. But and what I love about the Greek, unlike in your presentation yesterday, which was brilliant on License to Steal there on the Bleacher Brothers, and hopefully reprising some of that in this show, and then, of course, so one of my favorite things, getting the same material across 3 different platforms later on Bury Your Bookie. And you overwhelmed Scotty M, who was like, who the hell is this guy? How am I supposed to follow that? But the Greek gives out his picks with like zero logic behind him.
and yet he probably did better than me last week. So,
Hey, look, we never worry about you. We never worry about you, Professor. That was.
I can't talk shit about the picks. I will continue for the rest of my life to talk shit about his Patriot fandom. How's that working out for you in the 2020s, Greek?
Not well. I did want to mention this. One of my favorite moves.
By the way, what I love about 2024 Patriot fans is like they're still pretending that it's not a bad sign that Jacoby Brissett is starting like 5 weeks into the season. Like it hasn't clicked that if Drake May hasn't already taken this dude's job, then Drake May must suck. Like
he was named the starter though for this week.
Okay, but so was Spencer Rattler was named the starter in New Orleans. But if you're getting a job this week, it doesn't mean you're good. Like it means that there's a deep set problem in the franchise.
Did you think that? What was your opinion about Drake May as a potential pro quarterback? I thought he was going to be good.
I thought, the people who made the Josh Allen comparisons were very right, but people forget the progress of Josh Allen. And then when Josh Allen came in that first year, if he hadn't reshaped his game, inaccuracy and still to this day turnover. I mean, here's the thing with the Josh Allen, is on the Mahomes level, which he absolutely is not. I don't think he's honestly on the Burrow level when Burrow has a fully healthy roster around him and Burrow himself is fairly. People like to pretend that the turnover problem is a gone issue with Josh Allen. It's very much not. He's led the league in turnovers over the last 3 years. So I see both good and bad comparisons. And, you could sort of draw a line to Lubie's guy, Jameis Winston there, who, has done a lot of really good things over the years. but could never figure out the turnover bug in his game. I mean, I don't think it's, at the radical, I could throw 40 interceptions in a season level that we've seen with Jameis, but I think there are a lot of similarities, including likes to take too many chances downfield, and when he misses, tends to miss high. And the problem in the NFL is when you miss high, every safety is so good that that's almost an automatic interception at the NFL. It's, again, go back again to the Jameis comparison, something we've had over and over again. Although, again, favorite point on the show is that you're not allowed to cross-reference quarterbacks racially, which Jameis, of course, has defied over the years because he's got a lot more in common with a lot of white quarterbacks than he does black quarterbacks.
Yeah, certainly was a pick waiting to happen. And Josh Allen is in that category. I don't know that there's ever a timely time to turn the ball over, but the timing of his mistakes also seems to be particularly atrocious. So we'll see what happens. Although that was my original best bet was Buffalo Bills over the Jets, and then all this turmoil happened with the Jets and the coaching change.
Oh, God.
We'll see what happens.
I mean, the little detail in that one that blows my mind is you had security escort him out of the building. Like,
yeah.
What,
like he was Lubie going to steal a computer on his way out of iHeart.
Was it that, or was it that he was going to go to the weight room and fight Aaron Rodgers? Because I honestly think that might be the best thing that could happen for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's always ugly. All right, let's get into some college plays here, and then we want to definitely have time for the big board. So fire away, Professor. What do you have for us this week?
Are we doing it without logic? No, I'm kidding. We'll start this week with, again, I think easily the biggest spot really we've seen since week one, and that is my personal favorite, and I know Lubie's, Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes getting 3.5 from Kansas State at home. Of course, America loves the Colorado Buffaloes. I despise Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. We talked about it on the other show. I have never... And it goes back to sort of what the sport has become in terms of gambling, a disconnect between lines and the public like we have surrounding the Colorado Buffaloes. The public is looking for any excuse to bet on this team. Yes. And we're seeing that the action this week. Preseason, this line was Kansas State minus 9.5. Opened up, I believe, at 4.5 or 5 in some places. Now down to 3.5. There is no reason on earth anybody should be putting their money on Colorado beneath a touchdown against this Kansas State team. This Kansas State team is all but custom built to smash Colorado's teeth in. The things Colorado's bad at, their run defense is horrific. Kansas State runs the ball well. Colorado, weakness along the offensive line, both running and passing. But Kansas State, of course, and this, by the way, I think is part of the narrative of this game in terms of gambling. Everybody came out of that Central Florida game because Colorado ran for like 94 yards, saying, "Oh, Colorado runs the football now." No, they don't. They don't run the ball well. And Kansas State, by the way, 25th in the country against the run. So they ain't running the football. And you can pretty much bet that front four, Kansas State will get massive pressure in this game. This is going to be a blowout game. Kansas State is going to throttle Colorado. Yes. And if you only take 3.5 points or you take Colorado on the money line, you're not a bright gambler. Like, you really need to rethink what you're doing. But again, there is a segment of America that just loves Colorado and again, most of the sharp gamblers I know are the exact opposite. They're looking for lines to bet against Colorado. Well, this is one of them. Kansas State laying 3.5. Whatever your maximum unit is, well, I don't judge what level. If you're a $20 player, this might be a game you go 100 on. If you're a $50 player, this might be a nickel. If you're a $100 player, this might be a dime. Whatever your max level that you're comfortable with, that your budget is, Kansas State is absolutely worth it. This is one of those rare times in gambling. I don't like to exaggerate and do it. My 5-star lock of the week. They're giving you the public is giving you money with this line. Kansas State is going to annihilate Colorado.
All right, that's number one on the professor's list, a 5-star gold seal, double wheel, platinum special.
I hate those terms because they sound silly, but if it's ever appropriate, this is the one.
This is a shellacking coming up. All right. I know you also have an interest.
Honestly, Shador might not escape this game alive.
He's gonna get hurt. He's gonna get hurt in this
wow,
game.
that's not good.
I mean, you look at their NIL endorsements and whatnot. The Kentucky Fried Chicken people might have to fly a helicopter in
Instead of
and lift Shador out in a bucket of KFC bucket to the local hospital. Like this is going to be brutal for Colorado.
any kind of an indication, I guess. Instead of the team physician, they're having a mortician on the sidelines
Exactly.
for Colorado. All right, and this.
Honestly, Kansas State might come in and steal his watch just on the field. Like,
All right, this got confirmation. You share an opinion with one of our other favorite handicappers, the great Troy West, who's been on fire, and I know you like Utah in this spot this week.
Okay. Deal with the obvious first, which is number of people are reporting that Cam Rising will play tonight. I am not basing it on Cam Rising's participation. Basically, you cannot trust whether it's the coaching staff, the medical staff. Everybody in Utah is a vicious, vicious liar. We've talked about on the show. I am not 100% convinced that Cam Rising is still alive. Like I feel like Utah may have spent the last 2 years doing a weekend at Bernie's with Cam Rising. Like they might just have strings and they're walking Cam Rising's corpse around, and then like at the end of the season, we're gonna read that Cam Rising like tragically died in a Mormon sex incident and playing the jump man during a good stroking. So we're not basing this on the Cam Rising news. I just think Utah's an overall better football team than Arizona State. Arizona State has done well this year. They have an improving offense, but defensively they are not very good. Yes, they beat Kansas with a late comeback. Guess what? Everybody in the country has beat Kansas with a late comeback. Kansas having one of the most historic seasons, so I'm not going on that game. Utah actually played pretty well offensively against Arizona, but they kept turning the ball over. I don't think that'll repeat itself. I think Utah will go in and handle this game because I think their defense will do a good job against the Sun Devils, much like they have the rest of the season. Held down Oklahoma State, basically held down a very explosive Arizona team. The offense just couldn't get the job done. I think the offense will be able to run the ball against Arizona State because Arizona State's defense is not particularly good. I actually saw this game trend up to 6 last night, but I'm still showing 5.5 on the app I'm using here. Could be either number, but I think beneath the touchdown, Utah is pretty comfortable in this one.
All right. You're looking at Lane Kiffin, maybe to make some cash this week?
Interesting matchup here. Ole Miss and LSU, obviously a rivalry game. I think LSU's home field is being a little overvalued. And now, of course, when LSU is good, Death Valley can be as tough a place to play as there is in the country. But that has not held up the last couple of years. And I don't think LSU's defense is ready for this test. On the other hand, I think if you look at Ole Miss and what they did to South Carolina last week, Ole Miss's defense is much more prepared in this game. Ole Miss to go in and get the money at -3 and a hook here.
All right. And I don't know. I don't sense that you're a big Buckeye fan, but when it comes to money, you can go ahead and dismiss what would normally be a lot of venom towards this particular team, but you like Ohio State.
Very weird. In terms of my fandom, very weird spot for me because people know over the years, I'm kind of a closet duck. I'm a big Oregon fan. And betting-wise, I've been a big Oregon fan over the years. But this particular spot, I am not impressed with Oregon at all. They've managed to stay in the top 5 despite a series of kind of heart attack games, sort of like the Miami Hurricanes, who the public are now jumping off the bandwagon with. Oregon's done it all year, and frankly, against lesser teams in Miami, should have lost to Boise State, arguably could have lost to Idaho in the first week. I don't know what everybody's so impressed with Oregon. I mean, you look at their wins. UCLA's terrible. Michigan State has no offense. Oregon State was badly outclassed in that matchup. I don't see it with the Oregon offense this year. I don't think Dylan Gabriel has fully gotten this offense, which is part of the reason they're struggling. In the red zone so far this season. So no, I'm not buying Oregon. On the other hand, yeah, I hate everything they're about as a program, but Ohio State counter, very impressive. If you want to say they haven't played anybody yet, I will tell you I don't think Iowa's a great football team overall because their offense has been garbage for, 30 years and continues to be garbage this year. But Iowa's always a rock solid defense. And Ohio State, after slow starting a little bit, went in and hung 35 on Ohio. Again, one of the most, against Iowa. One of the most balanced attacks in the country. And you look at Ohio State, you don't have to be that impressed with Will Howard. I'm not that impressed with Will Howard. In fact, you look at what your boy McCord is doing at Syracuse. Arguably, Ohio State downgraded its quarterback position. On the other hand, the running back duo outside of Genty and Boise State, if you want to say Genty's the best back in country, arguably Henderson and Judkins are some number 2 or 3, and I'm not sure which of the two is better. I lean a little bit Judkins, but they're both great. And the wide receiver core, as we talked about on the show yesterday, Defo, it's basically an NFL. Like there are
NFL receivers. They're NFL fucking receivers.
There are arguably 20 teams in the NFL who have worse wide receiver cores than the Ohio State Buckeyes.
100%.
Their ability to rotate talent in and out of that program is ridiculous. I mean, they lost Marvin Harrison Jr. And if you're watching them on the field, they're arguably better this year at the wide receiver position overall than they were last year, which is an insane fact to me. I'm not sure. I think this game's going to be close. I actually think Ohio State has a decent chance of going in and romping them because I don't see a scenario, even if Oregon consistently move the football, that they're going to magically discover the touch in the red zone that they've sort of lacked all year long. So, yeah, again, I kind of hate it because you're going to start to, if Ohio State does go in and win convincingly, you're going to start hearing Ohio State #1 and blah, blah, blah. I don't know that I think necessarily that of Ohio State. This is more anti-Oregon than it is pro-Ohio State. But I do think Ohio State goes in and handles business in a relatively easy fashion this week.
All right, so we have Kansas State over Colorado, Utah over Arizona State, Ole Miss over LSU, and Ohio State over Oregon. All right, we don't want to rush you through a big board here, but we have to get to it.
Oh, we're going to do that. Yeah,
we're going to do that, but we're going to hustle our way through it. Still have enough time, I think, to get this all in. So right to it. This week's edition of the Big Board with the Professor.
Well, it's a subject we've covered a little bit over the years, Defo, but a new story popped up this week that really caught my attention. So we're going to go. If Lubie wants to pull it up, to the big board of sports financial frauds, because, of course, we have a whole new avenues. Something pops up every week to create a new avenue of fraud within the world of sports. And frankly, with Donald Trump looking to be president again, the United States of America, we're on the grift. That's pretty much, nobody knows it better here in the state of Florida, where our former governor, now turned senator, was a man who stole $6 billion of Medicare, buddy. Anybody knows financial fraud, it's the state of Florida.
No doubt.
And the world of sports is familiar with it, too.
Capital of fraud here, the state of Florida, no doubt.
This week's subject, and that takes us to number 5, which is Bruce McNall of the Los Angeles Kings. I think we've talked about him in the past, but man, was it easy to be a fucking con man in the 1980s or what? Go back and look at this dude's history, and no wonder we have so much security with everything these days. No wonder if you want to rent a fucking carpet cleaning machine at Publix, you have to leave 2 credit cards, a cash deposit, and 3 IDs, including your passport. Because you go back to the 1980s, this dude managed to amass more than $300 million in bank loans, basically just because he said he had a bunch of money. Everything, this dude, he got an NHL team, a CFL team, an airline, just because he said, oh, yeah, by the way, I have a bunch of money. And banks were like, oh, good, well, let's give you some more. Nothing but his word to back up. I don't know if people are aware of this, but at one point, this man, the full amount has never been disclosed, but it has been widely reported to be well into the tens, possibly a low $100 million worth of loan, based on a coin collection that he never actually showed anybody. He just told people he had these fucking coins in a safety deposit box. And they're like, oh, you have these coins? Cool. Here's $10 million worth of loans based on these coins that you just say you have. Like, think about that. If I say, hey, Defo, I've got $100 million cash in a safety deposit box, but I need you to loan me another $10 million. And you're like, well, he's got $100 million in the safe deposit box. Here's 10 more. Sure.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Of course, he was one of my original sponsors when I first started selling advertising.
Of course he was.
He had Suma Stable. He had a bunch of really high-class racehorses. That's how I knew him. So I knew him a little bit personally. And I did cash a check that actually cleared from Bruce McNall at one point.
No, you cashed a check from Bank of America that
I didn't care whose money it was. I just needed it desperately at the time.
Massive frauds. Again, I only bring up Bruce McNall because, like, it was so easy to be on the goddamn grift in the 1980s. Like, you didn't have to. All you had to do was have like a nice suit and tell people you had a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder everything's so secure these goddamn days. It was because it was so easy to steal back then. I wish I hadn't been a kid. I could have robbed everybody blind. What the hell, man?
What's funny about appearances, too, is I've told this story many times where he introduced me to Barry Gordy, who was in his box when we tried to collect his 5 dimes that he owed us. And Gordy looked like a homeless guy, and this guy looked like the epitome of class. And, of course, the opposite was true because Gordy of Motown fame was filthy rich, and McNell didn't own the shirt on his back. So definitely a qualifier here and an interesting draw at number 5. Number 4 on the list.
4, and this one's actually taking us way back, but a very interesting crime to me. Number 4, that is Heisman Trophy winner from LSU in the 1960s, Billy Cannon, who later in life, after basically flopping out of the NFL, went into the counterfeiting business. And at one point in the early 1980s, is 1982, had printed $6 million worth of $100 counterfeit bills that he kept in coolers in his house. Which, number one, I don't know if you've ever seen $6 million in goddamn $100 bills, but do you know how many have fucking coolers you need to hide $6 million? Or did it? Or I couldn't fall fully on the story. Was it just one giant cooler? Because if so, he should have gone into the cooler business. He was way the hell ahead of the Yeti people. He was like, I just need a cooler so fucking big I can stuff $6 million in fake $100 bills into. And again, flashback to the 1980s. Defo remembers it. I remember the early 1980s in particular. Like, you didn't see people walking around with $100 bills, even like at the track or, at Highlight or one of the pari-mutuels. Like, dudes weren't just walking around with hundreds. That was a thing that became a thing in like the 2000s. That back then, that was basically unheard of. So there's a pretty decent chance, particularly given that it was Louisiana, which was of course very poor back in those days, that Billy Cannon legitimately doubled the number of $100 bills that were in the state of Louisiana at the time. Like, you just got way too greedy with this. $6 million in 1982 of fake counterfeit bills, all in $100 bills. Like, if you were just like, where the hell did you plan on passing $6 million with $100 bill?
They still look at you funny at this grocery store when you hand them 100.
Again, the smart part is this was before those goddamn pens where they can catch pretty much any counterfeiter just by swiping the bill with some sort of pen that detects the paper. But again, if you were passing those around in your locally grocery store, like, the grocery store's going to know. I mean, the banks are going to notice. They're like, holy shit, every $100 bill in southeastern Louisiana is counterfeit. Like, who the hell keeps passing around these 100? You just got greedy with that.
You mind breaking this for me? Exactly.
$6 million of hundreds in 1982.
Yeah, that was unusual.
I don't think I saw a $100 bill until like 1988.
Even drug dealers that had millions stashed in their home safe, it was all in 20s. Which
I talked about that with Escobar. That Escobar had to bury money all over Colombia because there was so much of it because nobody carried hundreds back then.
Yeah, I remember borrowing a couple of dimes off a guy who had made a score in the drug industry a long time ago, early 80s, and he gave me literally $2,500 worth of 20s. It was great. All right, that's number 4. Number 3.
That takes us to a more modern era. And, of course, when you need to add a little excitement to your life because, you're kind of bored and sports days are over, nothing better than defrauding welfare recipients in the state of Mississippi. I mean, I'm just going to say, Brett Favre, when you got into this scheme and the other celebrity involved was Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, shouldn't that been a fucking tip that this is something you get? Did you not watch any wrestling during your time period when you were growing up? Like, Ted DiBiase's a bad guy. Like, if the other guy in your financial fraud scheme ripping off welfare is a wrestling villain whose whole character was having a shit ton of money and using it to corrupt the system, shouldn't that have been an indication that this was a goddamn problem for you? Like, and on top of it, shouldn't you have known it wasn't going to work out? Again, didn't you watch wrestling? It never worked out for Ted DiBiase. Like, somebody was going to always rush into the ring and hit him with a chair and steal the like. It was never going to work. Look at poor Virgil. Like, that was Ted DiBiase's last sidekick, and the guy ended up, in front of tables broke, asses trying to get autographs for food. Like, I'm sorry, I know what the hell you were thinking, Brett Favre. And of course, we had the news a couple weeks ago. Brett Favre now has Parkinson's disease. You know why? Because you deserve it. Like, there is a cap on, how much sympathy I can think when bad things happen to bad people. And Brett Favre, there you go.
Got the shakes after the shakedown. Yeah, no, that was a particularly ugly incident. Which
it's not only particular; it puts his whole history into
these veiled denials. Really fall short.
Everything that's gone on over the years that you maybe didn't believe about Brett Favre, don't you have to sort of believe? Like, he definitely showed that Florida State chick, his Johnson, 100%. Unsolicited.
Yeah, well, it was definitely on the money. Yeah,
he was definitely the one who came up with the whole Vicodin plan. Like, he's just a bad person. Like,
yeah, he sucks.
All right, that's number 3. Number 2.
And again, another favorite here on the program, and that is, of course, one Curt Schilling. And we're not talking about that ridiculous bloody sock, which was clearly ketchup and not blood. So full of shit, Kurt. We're talking about the time you stole $75 million worth of TARP money from the state of Rhode Island to build a video game that, even if it had been the best-selling video game of all time, you would have still lost money on somehow. $75 million worth of economic relief funds given to Curt Schilling's 38 studios, which then a year later, they never released the planned game and declared bankruptcy. Of course, Curt Schilling and his co-founders eventually, after being sued several times by the state of Rhode Island, did pay $61 million back. But when you factored in interest and lawyer fees, that means the state of Rhode Island is still $31 million short from Curt Schilling and his compatriots. And to this day, Curt Schilling likes to whine about small government and how spending is ripped off. Yes, you know how you know that it's just like Rick freaking Scott. You know how Curt Schilling is an expert on government waste? Because he's one of the fucking people who stole money from them.
I never forget when he joined us on Radio Row. He was rolling around promoting this bogus company, and I think it was in Indianapolis, one of our early auditions there. Lubie and I venturing out there, and he was wearing a pirate outfit, and he had a sword, and we thought, what is up with this guy? Came off as a real nut job, but we didn't know at the time he was a total fraud.
Given his behavior afterwards, it might not have been the video game. He definitely seems like the kind of asshole who would just carry around a sword for no particular reason.
Number 2 on the list, Curt Schilling. Who tops the list this week?
And that would be, our favorites, and that's number 1, Kendrick Perkins, whose new company seems to make NIL as sleazy as possible. This is, of course, released in the news yesterday. Kendrick Perkins and his company Nilster, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right, because it looks like it's pronounced like Nilla wafers. Like I don't really know what the desired pronunciation is. This is a company that is offering loans to college and high school athletes, that in exchange for an upfront loan will take a percentage of their NIL money generated over their college careers. The athletes have received loans from anywhere from $25,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in exchange, the company will take 25 to 50% of your future NIL earnings.
Oh, wow.
Depending on the percentage, depending on the amount of money they loaned you up front. They already have 35 clients, 5 of which are high schoolers.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
How the fuck is this legal? How the hell is it legal for you to loan money to high school athletes based on potential NIL earnings at the most at rates that would make loan sharks blush?
Yeah, what rate is that?
Like how again,
50%.
some 5-star athlete kid, you're going to take 50% of his NIL earnings, and it's the entire NIL. I mean, like the freshman at Alabama, Williams, what's he going to make? Like $12 million? What's Arch Manning going to make? Bronny, these crazy numbers. So if you loan him $50,000 when he was in high school, you're going to make $6 million off the deal. That's the most, and you're doing it with a high school kid. It's the most insane goddamn thing I've ever seen. Like the guys at the pawn shop are like, "What the hell? How do we get in on this?"
Exactly.
Like, and at this point, between this and the UNLV situation with the weirdo agent who got a promise from a UNLV coach who says it never happens, and it seems like lied to his player and it never happened. Is there any sleazier business at this point than being involved in the NIL representation game? Like, if you tell me one person is an NIL and the NIL agent or representative, and the other person is a porn producer, I'm saying the NIL agent is much bigger scumbag at this point. Like, congratulations.
College sports deserves this, though, because all they had to do is pay these guys a little bit of a taste a long time ago, and probably this never would have happened.
Congratulations to the NCAA, who took something that was already sleazy and made it
even more sleazy.
Worse. This is a perfect example. This would be like if the NCAA was like, "Oh, we're going to ban Indian-themed mascots because they're offensive," and replace them with other worse slurs.
Yeah.
Like, blackface.
Leave it to the NCAA to take a situation that was bad, get involved, and make it so much more harmful to athletes.
God. We have to give.
By the way, Kendrick Perkins, the ESPN money isn't enough. Like, you're making 7 figures a year. Everybody who watches ESPN fucking hates you.
You
and you're like, "Oh, that's not quite enough money. I need to go rip off 10th graders.
Let me go rob some kids."
You played high school while you played college. Get the fuck out of here.
And this is not a dude who's underpaid. This is a dude who made him $150 million.
Played in the league a long time
in his NBA career. Yeah.
And he's been making decent money now. Get the fuck out of here.
Excellent job as always, Professor. Honorable mention to John Spano, who bought the Islanders right there with McNall without having a dime.
But he got caught. Like, McNall got, again, the great thing about McNall, everything this dude touched was a fraud. Like the baseball card with Gretzky, which came out, turned out the baseball card had been altered. Like, some dude had cut the edges to make it look better. Everything this dude ever touched in his
amazingly, his check cleared. that still is a phenomenon in my life. That
the least amazing thing is that somehow you were involved with.
Of course.
Suma Stable. He had some great racehorses at Santa Anita. Everybody loved the guy because he was a benevolent soul. He was giving away this money he'd stolen very, very willingly.
If anybody, no offense, but if anybody tell me, "Oh yeah, I was running ads with Bernie Madoff back during the 90s,"
your name was mentioned. Yes. All right, Professor, great job as always. We'll see you on Barrier Bookie, and thanks so much for being with us on the show.
You guys have a great one.
Thanks, Kim.
The Professor, ladies and gentlemen. Classic stuff there all the way as the Professor, once again, very much on his game. All right, Lubie, I'm going to see you guys, I guess, later on at the track. It's going to be a tough one for me. I didn't realize you were working a doubleheader today, but bring me some cannolis from the Italian bakery.
There you go. Yeah, we should have a
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Yes.
So you're getting something on the way with the mailman at what, 10:30?
10:30. We're coming to whoever chooses to watch us, at least then, from the Casa D'Angelo Bakery Bar off of Oakland.
That's a spot I've always wanted to visit, too. I blow by there quite frequently, and I'm always thinking to stop in. And I think, maybe the calories, you should save some for later on in the day. But, no, great spot. And, all right, so you guys enjoy that. Chef Angelo Elia going to be there, right? Great restaurateur. So should be a lot of interesting conversation there. And and then I'll see you guys at 10 Pops
Yes, sir. We'll be
later
there.
on this afternoon. How about Mayo with the day-night doubleheader? That's become part of the MO.
Well, we've struggled to
this
get Angelo on. He's all over the place. So I guess this was literally the only
Yeah.
day and time he could do. So we're like, all right, screw it. Whatever works for him works for us.
Yeah. All right. Little prohibitive for me here since I'm going to be slaving away over a hot microphone for a while up until like 10 or so. So, all right, Lubie, have fun there, and I'll see you at 10 Palms. And thanks, people, for tuning in. Good luck if you're following these plays. I'm pretty confident in the professor, and I had a couple of guys that like that Utah game. So that may be one I actually plunge on myself. All right, we'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:09.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.